Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome in, everybody. This is going to be a very interesting episode of the Fantasy Cheat Sheet presented by Going for Two Live on YouTube. Go, please like, subscribe, comment, do all of that. For once, Jamie is the normal one here tonight. Jordan is having problems with his camera, and I have no power, so I'm doing it from my phone. I am worrying through this. I am going to make this show work. Let's get the party started. Jordan, Mr. in the Dark, Jordan, how are you doing tonight, my man?
Not good, man. I was doing good till about 5 minutes ago when I tried to sign in. I had a fresh cut. I was ready to show off. Now I can't. So, by next week it's gonna be all grown out, so it's not gonna be the same. But I'm looking forward to talking some football with y'all, man.
All right, and Jamie, what's up, man?
Man, it feels weird being the normal one on the show. Let's get through it.
It feels weirder calling you the normal one on the show. Since I've known you outside of the show, it's even worse. All right, so let's just get into it. There's not much news to go over. Just real quick, Jameson Williams has been let back into the league after his gambling. Quick question. I don't think we need to spend too much time on this. Yes, he's going to be used when he finally gets going. If he's playing this week, is he a must start or is he a wait and see guy for 1 week?
Oh, wait and see.
Yeah, same. Wait and see. Even when he was going to come back after 6 weeks, I wasn't going to play him week 7.
No, that's definitely a wait and see. I mean, some of these guys, Josh Reynolds still has a role. You got to see exactly what's going on with the offense, how they use him and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I just wanted to bring that up just in case. And the only other piece of information that I really want to just get everyone's final opinion on, because we don't know what's going to happen. It's a conundrum. It's a SHIT show. The Colts are saying that they are starting Jonathan Taylor's 3-week period of where they can bring him back from the PUP list. Does he play? Does he get traded? Or what the hell do you think is going to happen? Jamie, I'm starting with you this time.
Honestly, I don't even know. I think he'll sit for the 3 weeks. They'll try to find a trade partner for him. I don't see him playing for the Colts, man.
Jordan?
Yeah, I don't see him as like I want to say he'll play, but he has been adamant that he doesn't want to play for the Colts again. So I anticipate that he'll probably be traded in the next 3 weeks.
I completely agree. So let's just get straight into the show since we're kind of running on fumes anyway today. Let's get into the Monday Night Football takeaways. Last night, the Seattle Seahawks dismantled, whatever you want to call it, of the New York Giants. So let's just get straight into the takeaways of the evening. Jordan, what is yours? Because I agree.
I'm just disappointed in the Giants as a whole. I know they had injuries. Offensive Saquon wasn't there, but the discrepancy in the way Daniel Jones in particular looks when Saquon's on the field and when Saquon's off is ridiculous. So that leaves it to a point where you can't trust any of these guys on the offense as a consistent fantasy starter outside of Saquon. I had high hopes for Darren Waller, but the way things have been looking so far, he's had one good game, and it was the one game they came back from behind against Arizona. Week 1, we all know they got slapped around. Last night, they got slapped around. The first 2 weeks I gave them a pass. They played against Dallas. 2 of the first 3 weeks they played against Dallas and San Francisco, 2 of the better defenses in the league. Last night, the Seahawks came out, had 10 sacks. Like, they're not one of the defenses that you fear. And the way that they were able to push around offensive line, I know Andrew Thomas has been banged up and stuff like that, but it's just uncalled for. If I can't trust them against the Seahawks, I don't know when I'm going to be able to trust them. So I'm rolling with Saquon. Obviously, you drafted it. You put a high draft capital on him, so you're going to roll with him. But I'm not confident in any of these other guys. I mean, we talked about, and they all had 7 slot receivers, and they all kind of take away from each other. Wandale comes back from a knee injury, is the most targeted receiver. You'll never know from game to game. So you can't trust any of these guys, Daniel Jones included, and Saquon's the only guy that I'm going to roll with moving forward.
So, Jamie.
Yep.
I know. What else do you have to add to his point? And would you start any other weapons besides Saquon against the Miami Dolphins in Week 5?
I mean, where you drafted Waller, you kind of have to, unless you have someone else like Laporta. But it's not. You don't feel comfortable about doing it. And Barkley, even coming off that injury, I don't know how comfortable I feel about starting him.
Yeah.
But you kind of have to where you drafted him. But even with their backups like Matt Breida, there's no way I'm rolling with the Matt Breida. There's no way I'm going with a Paris Campbell. Like Wandale seems interesting, but he's not someone I want to feel comfortable starting in a lineup. But maybe in Dynasty, you go buy him low.
Yeah, I mean, so I agree. Waller's really the only one, and partly because if I've spent on Waller, I'm going to have to. He's one of those guys that maybe in another week or so, like you got to contemplate cutting bait if it gets worse or doesn't get better whatsoever. But part of the reason that the game got so bad was there was a 97-yard interception for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But more importantly, Jamie, something happened 11 times in the game. What was it, and why is it a problem?
Oh, man. So even going off what Jordan's saying, like the Giants are in major trouble. They lost multiple offensive linemen, and that's not going well for the franchise quarterback. He got sacked. I thought it was 10 times. Wasn't it 10 or was it 11?
Yeah, I thought it was 10, but either way.
Either way, that has to be some kind of
10 or 11.
It still has to be some kind of a record for game sacks for a single game. So just on the season, he's been sacked 22 times. That's a 14% sack rate.
Jesus.
That is insane. They need to get something going with this offensive line. They have to figure it out because they paid Daniel Jones for 4 years. It's going to look horrible for the next 4 years if you don't fix this offensive line problem. You need to get him weapons. Give him someone more than 180 pounds that he could throw to. He needs an alpha receiver. But yeah, besides that, he's only had, 2 passing touchdowns so far this season, 1 rushing touchdown. Yeah, you can't start Danny Dimes or any of his weapons. And like I said,
they got shut out in week 1, so
yeah, yep. But yeah, I don't see it getting any better. They got a couple tough matchups going forward. I think they play the Dolphins next week, like you said, and then Bills the week after.
Oh, Lord.
Just like Mike said in the beginning of the season, they are not going to be a playoff contender, being 1-5 going. It's just not going to look pretty at all the rest of the season.
No, not at all. So the Seahawks did good. The offense did decent. The defense obviously dominated because in my work league, I won by 10 points. I was projected to lose by 1, and I had the Seahawks defense. So they got me 29 points. So I have to gloat about that. But that is not my takeaway. My takeaway, and you guys both know this, me being a West Coast boy, my takeaway absolutely hurts me to have to say this out loud. Zach Charbonnet is turning into Zach Charbonnet not in your lineup. Okay? I love Zach Charbonnet. But last night only had 5 carries and 1 reception. That's not good, right, boys?
Nope.
Not enough. It's not enough.
You know what's worse?
What?
What's worse than 5 carries and 1 reception is 13 snaps.
Yeah.
Okay? If they're going to keep giving the ball to Walker, exactly what the dynasty community and the fantasy football community, as soon as Zach Charbonnet's name was called out at the draft in Kansas City when they said the Seattle Seahawks draft Zach Charbonnet, many of us were scared because of what we were afraid good old Pete Dance on the Sidelines Carroll was going to do to this kid. I thought it was going to be more of a 50-50 split. It looks like Walker is the guy. They do give him the ball. When they do give him the ball, it's not even close to the goal line. So he's going to have to break off a long one for him to even be productive and get a touchdown. And it just disappoints me because they're not using him correctly. JSN is not quite there yet, but I expected that a little bit with Lockett and DK still there. But I did expect Charbonnet to have a bigger role. Jordan, what do you think?
So the one bright side, I guess you can look at is with 6 touches on 13 snaps. That's almost 50% of the time he was in the game. He touched the ball. So that's a positive, but I do get what you're saying. Like I was shying away from Ken Walker during draft season just because I thought it would be closer, even if it wasn't 50-50, 60-40, but it's not even that. So Ken Walker has looked good. There's always the possibility with the way that he runs that he can get injured. So I wouldn't give up on Charbonnet yet. I mean, he is a rookie. I just thought it would happen a lot sooner, but maybe we just got to wait a little longer for it.
Yeah, Jamie, what do you think about Charbs?
I always stayed away from Charbonnet just because if you look at last year, even when Penny was getting all the work, Walker didn't really play that much. He's playing pretty much what Charbonnet's playing now. And then once Penny got hurt, that's when Walker blew up. So I expected Walker to get more of the work than Charbonnet, but I didn't think it was going to be this much. I always expected Charbonnet to get at least the passing downs because he's a better pass catcher. But they're just using him straight workhorse. And I'm loving it because I was getting Walker in like the 5th rounds of my startup drafts, and that's looking pretty right now.
Oh, that's definitely looking pretty as of. All right, so let's get into the next section. It is time for real or fake. So first off, Jordan, tell me why you have a rookie quarterback as your real player.
Because so there was another rookie quarterback I was thinking about using, but I feel like he was somebody that Anthony Richardson was someone I way too much in the offseason. So I decided to move to CJ Stroud. Like this guy has been legit the whole season. I mean, he had a rough first game against the Ravens. That was to be expected. However, he's bounced back in a big way. I mean, they blew out the Jags in week 3. He threw for 280 and 2 touchdowns in that game. This past week, they blitzed the Steelers, beat the crap out of them. He threw for 300 yards in that game, 2 touchdowns. I mean, he is looking like a real legit stud. Not to mention in week 2 against Indianapolis, he threw for 384 and 2 touchdowns in that game as well. Hasn't thrown an interception yet in 4 games. Like they were talking about he had a low score on the Wonder League test. Obviously, that means nothing because he's come out balling in a big way. He has Nico Collins looking like a good fantasy receiver. Tank Dell is a good fantasy receiver. Damian Pierce hasn't really caught up to speed yet, but D'Amico Ryans and his staff is doing a good job, and CJ is leading that offense, and the Texans are a surprise so far, and he's the biggest reason why.
All right, so this is how I feel about CJ Stroud. No, this was going to happen. I didn't think it was going to happen this early, but this is the reason I had him number 1 QB coming out of the class before the Richardson went up to 5. Bryce Young going over him at number 1 to me was ridiculous. I get Bryce has the attributes or whatever, but I'm never going to put a kid that's 5'2" in at quarterback, and I'm not going to draft him. CJ Stroud, I do understand. I know we've brought it up on the show before, and you can go back to a certain point, but I hate when everyone sits there and says he'll never succeed because where he went to school. You can bring that up with certain guys because of I know you brought it up, Jamie, with like Cordell Jones and that. I'm okay with that. The ones where I don't like it is when they bring up guys' names that were way before Ryan Day, way before Urban Meyer even, and say, oh, the school's never had him. Like, no, you can't. Like, what's the guy's name that he was the quarterback and then he became a wide receiver for Houston at one point? No, he was a wide receiver.
Braxton
Miller. Like, you can compare him to Haskins, but you can't compare him to frickin' Braxton Miller. He's making Nico Collins. I love Nico Collins out of college. Actually, Nico Collins was one of the first articles that I wrote for GF2. Rookie profile on Nico. But he hasn't done much. He hasn't had a quarterback. He had Davis Mills last year. He's finally getting a quarterback to help him out. And I think CJ was on the right track to be the number 1 guy or number 2 behind him or Richardson. After this year, we're going to be looking back and saying, why did we draft Bryce Young first? So, Jordan, I'm leaving this one for you, Jamie, and you know why. Jordan, who is your fake? Because I know Jamie is going to have fun talking about him after you.
So I thought about Jamie as I was putting this guy in the sheet. And I just think that whole team is probably a fake, just because based off of who they played. But I'm gonna go with Khalil Herbert. Obviously he's underperformed. He's not even the best running back on his team, but I'll let Jamie get into that in a little bit. And he had a good game, but playing against the Broncos, I'll give that to anybody. They'll give him that confidence boost. I don't see this continuing. It was an aberration performance for the Bears as a whole. They still ended up losing the game, but he had a good game, and he, fantasy managers could be happy if they did start him, but I don't anticipate that to continue. The Bears hadn't really ran the ball a lot and effectively at all, and he particularly hasn't been effective. So, playing against a poor defense and having a good performance is one thing, but I don't think we can anticipate that moving forward.
Yeah, for real, man. He hasn't had more than 10 carries yet so far, besides this week.
Yeah,
and he's not even the best running back in that backfield. I've been saying it, week 5 or 6, that's when you're going to start seeing the change. And it's I kind of like that he had a big game because I did play him in a league or two. But it just shows more that they are capable of running the ball a little bit. So when they do put the better running back that's behind him, when they start giving him more carries, it's just going to show more and more that they can actually run the ball, move it down the field, and give the more efficient guy some carries, and he's going to double Khalil Herbert's points. But I would say sell Khalil Herbert right now.
Yes.
I was talking about that on another network with someone, and right now is the perfect time to start selling him because they even said you have a better running back behind him that's going to start getting more work in the next few weeks. So capitalize on his big game. Get rid of him while you can.
All right. So before you go, Jamie, I'm going to have both of you answer this really quick. Should I drop Elijah Moore or Josh Downs to grab CJ Stroud?
I would drop Josh Downs to grab him. Yeah.
Downs.
Yeah, I would keep Moore, though. I wouldn't give up on him just yet.
Yeah, clean sweep. I think the only reason I think people are worried about, or not worried, but are thinking about dropping Elijah right now is because of the bye week. But if you can, I would keep Elijah. Jamie, why don't you tell us who your real person is?
Okay, I don't know if you've seen it, but I did change it. My real is Nico Collins. So going off of the CJ Stroud, Nico Collins is for real. He had 7 receptions this past week, 168 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So on the year, I believe he's wide receiver 19. He's 5th in receiving yards, 11th in yards after the catch. He's 7th in fantasy points per game, and he's got 3 touchdowns on the year. The only people with more touchdowns is Diggs and Tyreek Hill with 4. He is the true alpha in this offense. I know last week we talked about Tank being the real deal, and I still believe he is the real deal. They both are. It's like Nico's going to be the Batman to Tank's Robin. So they're, what do they call them, the dynamic duo. And I could just see them each week. Each week they could both put up points. I know Tank didn't have a good game this past week, but that's a fluke. He's still the real deal. Put them both in your lineups if you got them. Hands down. Like, I was just talking to someone, and he give him one more game like this, and you gotta put him over like an Addison and redraft.
Okay, so it's okay. I'm gonna take this one, Jordan.
All right.
Here's the reason I'm gonna take this one. I had that decision. I have the Addison
Oh, damn.
Collins conundrum in a league. I had Collins, Addison. I got Godwin, Debo. There's another one in there. And I sat Nico. Luckily, I didn't need it. But I am at that point where I was going to debate, and I was going to mention it to you two after the show or before the show if we didn't have all these freaking hiccups. Is it time where I just don't even think about Addison now and just straight put Nico in as my WR3 no matter what?
Yes, hands down. Because he, like I said, he's going to be the alpha in that offense. Addison's the beta. Yeah, I know they throw a lot, but I still rather have the number 1 guy.
And even before, and even, Addison had a really bad game this past week, but the pass volume was low for the Vikings. But even when they are throwing it, if he doesn't catch a touchdown, he isn't going to give you anything. So, Nico, he can give you production even without the touchdown.
Exactly. And so who is your fake, or who is your, go with your other one.
My fake is Cole Kmet. He's on a low-scoring offense, struggling right now. You just can't trust anyone in that offense. We kind of just talked about that a little bit. I know he's talented, but he's just in the wrong offense. He's coming off of that 27-point game this week. I'm not point chasing, especially on a short week going into Thursday. If I were you and had him on your roster, I would just try to sell him off this 27-point game, because the week before he had 2 targets, if that. So I'm not trusting him. I don't think he's going to be able to put up 27 points again this whole season. Just sell him while you can.
Not much needs to be added to this. Like we talked about the Bears, it's just a fluke game overall. Don't trust it moving forward. I mean, they want to get Kmet involved, but it's easier said than done. It's not something that you can count on.
All right. So before I give my 2, I don't have all the stats that I had, so this is going to go off the cuff. Here it goes. My real is David Montgomery. No, he is not going to get 3 touchdowns every freaking week. No, he is not going to be a top 5 running back every week. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying what's real is the role. The role is real. I did not think that David Montgomery was going to come in against the Packers and have that much of a significant role after being out. He came in, got the role, and got the touches, got the carries. We saw this last year. Jamal Williams ended up with the same role. Swift was the Gibbs, Williams was the Montgomery. Ended up as running back 13 for the year. Now you got everyone thought that Gibbs was going to be the workhorse. He was going to get the touches, and he's not. Not saying that Montgomery's going to finish as for sure top 13, but he's on pace to finish even higher than Jamal. And at least the role that Montgomery has, I don't think Gibbs is going to eat into like people thought. One of you can take it.
No, I 100% agree, man. Montgomery was one of my favorite targets in drafts. I was taking him almost every single time. People thought I was crazy. He's like, why are you passing up Madison? I'm like, because I can get Montgomery like 3 rounds, 2 rounds later. I don't see 3 touchdowns every week, but I do see a touchdown every single week. That is possible, especially in this offense. And he's getting he's catching passes out of the backfield. He's running the ball efficiently. I could see him top 10 rest of the season, and there's no way I'm taking him out of my lineup ever again because 70% of people sat him last week.
Oh, yeah, I know. I was one of them. I sat him in some and didn't sit him in others.
Yep.
And you can guess which ones I lost in.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right, so for my fake, I don't think you two are mad at me over this, but I guarantee you there's some people in the fantasy community that think I'm crazy for saying this one. My fake is King Derrick Henry. Yes, he had his touchdown. He threw for a touchdown. He had 120-something yards. He got the touches. I don't remember the splits because I don't have it up right now, but the snap splits was still closer than I wanted to be with Tajay Spears. But the biggest thing is and Jordan, I remember me and you talking about this in particular in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons that I was a little down on Derrick Henry compared to some at the beginning of the year compared to what we have been in the past is due to the fact that Tennessee is not going to – we did not think Tennessee was going to be a team that was going to be winning games and be ahead in games for him to run the ball like he has in the past. This game, he happened to be ahead. They whooped on the Cincinnati Bungles. And because of that is why he got the workload. If they weren't behind, if they were behind, I don't think this would have been the workload that he got. So his performance that he put up was good. If I'm trying to sell him if I have him, or wait one more week and have it, but throughout the year, I don't think this is going to hold up. Jordan, am I wrong?
I hate to say this, man, but I think you kind of are. So the reason why is because Derrick Henry has been this guy that for the last 3 years we've been saying his age, the carries are going to catch up to him, and every time he's stuck as the middle finger and continued to plow through people and score touchdowns, and even with the bad offensive line. So I think that's going to continue as long as he continues to get the work. I know that Tajay Spears is eating into the snap share. However, it never feels like the touches are that close. So it's a rare occasion that the Titans ran away with the game. Yeah, I understand that. However, that may be a recipe. I don't know if Mike Vrabel had to hit his head and realize that Derrick Henry has been the only reason they've had success over the last couple of years. So maybe they get back to that. I mean, I would anticipate they're not going to keep him much longer, so they might as well finish him off, run him into the ground for the rest of this season. So that's what I anticipate. He won't be as efficient as he was with this being one of the worst offensive lines in the league. However, I was trying to buy him before this big game. Just, if I could have got him low, I would have. But at this point, it's going to be hard to get him. And if you can sell him, sell him for somebody. But I don't know how that's going to go either. So you might end up just holding him. But I think he'll be able to produce if you do hold on to him.
For sure. And I definitely get what you mean. I think it's a mixed bag. I think some people are going to. I think some people are going to agree. I think he's one of those polarizing players at the moment because of what has been going on. All right, so I just want to make sure on something, and I was right. So speaking of these Cincinnati Bungles, it is time for Jordan's randomness of the week.
So we started off the show and I said that not many people, like I can't trust hardly anyone on the Giants offense moving forward because of the offensive line issues besides Saquon. And then coming right off the injury, you can't really even trust Saquon either right now. However, I feel the same way with the Bengals because of Joe Burrow's injury. We all know Ray Charles can see that he's not healthy. And because he's not healthy, he can't step in the throws, he can't escape the pocket, thus opening himself up to hurt another part of his body because he can't protect himself by getting out, getting away. And it's just leading to a poor product on the field. Now T. Higgins is out. Couldn't trust him anyway. So they're not giving my boy Joe Mixon the ball, which they should be. He's been running the ball well. He's been efficient. They aren't. You would think with the fact that Joe Burrow can't throw the ball down the field that they would check it to the running backs. They aren't doing that either. So it's just been a disaster. And until I thought that was funny, until they sit Burrow down so that he can fully heal, I don't want to trust him particularly, and then anybody else besides really Jamar Chase and Joe Mixon. And they're not going to live up to where we drafted them at if Joe Burrow is going to continue to be hampered. Like I drafted Burrow in a super flex league, and I'm playing Brock Purdy and Jordan Love over him on a weekly basis. So it's just one of those things where you can't be confident in it. You drafted some of these guys and you got to count on them. You don't want to miss out because obviously Chase had a big game against the Rams and he had a decent game this past week. So he's been usable, but not what you expected when the season started. And I don't think this is going to stop until Joe Burrow decides to sit it down or the team sits him down and he gets 100% healthy.
Jamie, what do you have to say real quick?
Yeah, I mean, going off that, I also sat Joe Burrow in one of my Superflex leagues. I'm pretty sure I started C.J. Stroud over him. No brainer. But in another one, I started Mac Jones, and that one hurt. Burrow for Jones, man. But yeah, he does need to get right. Jamar Chase even said it in the beginning of the season, sit for the first 2 weeks. We don't need you for the first 2 weeks. Get yourself healthy because we need you the rest of the season. And it just seems like it's going to be a nagging injury all year long.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to be a nagging injury for sure. So, Jamie, before we go to your topic of the evening, I got 2 questions from the group or from NBA Rigged, and one is for Jamie, and then I'll give the one for Jordan. Jamie, what happened to DTR on Sunday? What did he show you that was different from his preseason performance? Simply first game jitters, big fluke, or Baltimore's defense is just too tough?
Probably a little bit of all of it. I mean, I don't think it's a fluke, but definitely first game jitters on the big stage, and then Baltimore's D's, like no joke, but they just played bad as a whole. The whole Browns team.
The whole team.
Yeah, the whole team. It wasn't just DTR. So, and plus we lost Conklin, so that kind of has a little bit to do with it. But you can't just blame one player being out for the whole team. So hopefully.
And now, Jordan, you are not off the hook.
Yeah.
What happened to Green Bay's D? They showed improvements from last year, but they couldn't stop a nosebleed versus Detroit. If you could name 2 things Green Bay's offense needs to do this week, what would they be?
So we were missing Devondre Campbell, who was our best linebacker. That might have helped a little bit. But also, I mean, Detroit is one of the best offensive lines in the league. They're going to run on a lot of people, and we haven't completely beefed up our run defense. We've been a better pass defense than run defense. So, Detroit running over us it sucks, but I mean that's going to happen to other teams moving forward. As far as our offense, obviously we have a much different opponent this Monday with the Raiders. So I think we need to get the running game established. We didn't do enough of that, and I guess it's because the game got out of hand for us real quick last week, so we didn't really get a chance to establish it. And Jones was on a snap count and stuff like that. So get the running game established again and get Christian Watson involved. Get those guys who are coming back from injury, get them acclimated into the offense, and I think we'll be fine. Jordan Love needs to get a little more accurate on some of his throws, but we have the talent. I like some of the glimpses that he's shown. So I think we're a work in progress. We're continuing to get better. Just get the running backs involved and get Christian Watson going in the offense.
Yeah, I agree. So it is time for Jamie's betting corner of week 5.
All right, so I got 2 here. One's for Thursday night's game, same game parlay. It's a 4-pick, but it'll get you plus 355. So throw $10, it'll win you like $45. But I started off with Justin Fields. His rushing was set at 46.5, but I wanted to play it safe. I did the alternative rushing at 40 plus. I also put Sam Howell at 200 plus because it's the Bears defense. I think he'll get that quite easily. I want to do a Brian Robinson anytime touchdown. And this is a game where they're not going to be playing from behind, so I don't see Robinson being game scripted out. I also wanted to put him over 6.5 receiving yards. He's done that twice already. He got like a 50-some yard game, and then he got a 7-yard game, and then he had a 6-yard game. So I think 6.5 yards, quite doable against the Bears. My other one, this one is a little bit more safer. Of course, I put the Justin Fields 40 plus because I think that's going to happen. Detroit Lions money line against the Carolina Panthers. And since the Miami Dolphins are playing the New York Giants, I put the Miami Dolphins with the longest touchdown of the game. So that one pays out 174. So put like $10. It'll get you like 28 bucks.
Nice.
Two ones. Like I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think there's something like the Brian Robinson 6.5 receiving yards like that? Kind of scary, but he could do it in 2 catches.
You're right. That's what I was about to say. I mean, it sounds scary considering the way that they use him, but every once in a while he'll pop off for a 20-yard catch or even a 10-yard catch, and if they give him more than 1 or 2 targets, he should be able to get that easily. Definitely like the call on the anytime touchdown for him because I could see him plowing it inside the 5 on the Bears. So I think this Thursday is going to be one of those games where it's too. The Commanders aren't technically a bad team like the Broncos, but it's 2 teams that we don't really expect to make any noise. But I think it's going to be an interesting game.
Yeah, I think you're fine on that one. I do agree on the Sam Howell thing too. He's Chicago's defense going into week 4 was only number 2. Denver and them were the worst 2 teams, and they let frickin' Denver goes and lets Fields score 4 touchdowns, and then they go and let frickin' Russell Wilson go off.
Yep.
So I definitely agree with you.
Then with the Fields rushing, Russell Wilson got over 50, Josh Allen got over 40, Hurts got almost 40. So I figured Justin Fields has got to get close to that.
Oh no, their defense is what was the word I used to use? Dumpster fire.
Yep.
All right, so it looks like I am not getting unscathed today from Rig.
Uh-oh.
Mike, I worry about Kansas City this week. Away game with the high-powered Vikings who need to win to keep up with Jordan's Green Bay and playoff-bound Detroit. I have an upset alert. I do think it's going to be decently close, but Minnesota statistically looks good this year with like numbers from Cousins and numbers from the weapons. but there's something that is very shaky in Minnesota. What do you think, Jordan?
I think they're throwing Minnesota's throwing the ball way too much, and I know Jamie's favorite guy, Madison, is the running back, but they need to, if that means get Cam Akers more touches, they need to do that to kind of balance it out. They've been one of the most pass-heavy team in the league, and when it's not like Patrick Mahomes is their quarterback, Kirk Cousins is. So I think that is something that they kind of have to reevaluate a little bit. They need to, the way that Carolina controlled the time of possession against them, they need to kind of try to do that with Kansas City this week. And they have two decent running backs who can help with that. I know they have Jefferson, I know they have Addison, but I think they need to kind of balance it out a little bit more so they don't put themselves in certain situations like they've been doing the first couple of games.
All right, no worries, and I completely agree. So, it is time for Mike's rant of the week. And I am going to start off by just saying, bye weeks suck. Okay? That's the nice way I'm saying this, okay? Let me get to my little information so I can give my take the right way. So this week we have the Cleveland Browns, the Los Angeles Chargers, the Seattle Seahawks, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on bye. There's a lot of fantasy weapons in there. Why they started this early in week 5, I don't know. But if that's the way they have to do it, fine. Jordan, I know you like it when I go on my rant. That's all I have to say. Not. NFL. Okay, this is where the rant starts. NFL, you need to get your head out of your butthole and fix something, because I don't know what the heck you're thinking. Fantasy football, if the players want to sit there and say, I don't care about your fantasy football team, don't draft me, do draft me. Yes, I'm talking to you, Miles Sanders and Austin Eckler, whoever wants to say whatever about fantasy football, and the league says they don't care about fantasy football and they don't care about gambling and this and that, they're lying to us. Roger Goodell and the entire league is lying, because how many people, even casual people that we know, I know we are degenerate, but how many casual fantasy football players pay attention to football more purely because they play the game? Right, boys?
100%.
100%.
Yep.
Here's the problem that I have. Bye weeks go all the way from week 5 to week 14. Week 5, 4 teams. Week 6, 2 teams. Week 7, the stupid 6 teams. Week 9, 4 teams. Week 10, 4. Week 11, 4. Week 13, another 6. Week 14, a whopping 2. Did you guys notice I missed a week in there?
Yes.
Because no team has a bye in week 8.
Yes.
What?
Okay? So here's what you do. You take the 2 teams in week 14, you drop them into week 6 with the 2 teams so there's 4, because week 6 only has 2, and week 14 has 2. You drop those 2 together, make 4 in week 6, and then the 2 weeks that you have 6 goddamn teams on bye, you take 2 each out of each one and move those 4 teams to week 8, and you have from week 5 to week 13, you have 4 teams each.
That would make too much sense.
Yeah,
The league is dumb and decrepit for this. It is asinine, and I have no explanation on why.
Yeah, week 12 has no teams on the bye as well, so that's
Jesus!
Like, it doesn't make sense. You put teams on week 14 bye, they come back and play 4 games.
yeah.
What sense does that make?
And then, Okay, and I know the league's not going to care about this specifically, and I get that. And I'm not saying they should specifically. Yes, they should care about fantasy in the sense that it makes them money and it brings in the viewership. Yes, I'm saying that. But for us degenerates, Jamie, Scott Fishbowl playoffs start before bye weeks are over.
Yeah, that makes it hard.
I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And taking the Scott Fishbowl out of it, it just does not make sense to me. Every year I gripe about this. Every year I go on my soapbox, and I don't give a rat's ass. Take the freaking schedule, throw it in the dumpster fire, let it burn, and restart it. If they don't fix this, eventually someone's going to bitch about it, player wise or whatever, to the point where it's going to have to change. That's my rant.
I agree. They need to do something with this. This is stupid. Like you mentioned, I mean, anytime you have 2 weeks without teams on a bye, and then a couple with 6, I mean, come on, we got to spread it out. I don't understand, I guess, the reasoning behind it. I'm sure there's some reason when they're making the schedules as to why they do it like that. Probably for some money reasons or something, but who knows?
Yeah, and then the other thing that gets me is, like you said, the 6, but you have 2 weeks with only 2. So why not take the 6s and move those to 4s? Just baffles my mind. Jamie, what do you think? Because I already know what you think, but I want to hear
I
it.
just think it's dumb. It makes no sense whatsoever, especially with 2 weeks in between not having bye weeks for any team. And what pisses me off is just that week 14, because what if you need that win to make your fantasy football playoffs? And you have,
Oh, exactly.
I mean,
Luckily this year. I mean, 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, when CMC was still the last year CMC finished the year in Carolina. Carolina had a week 14 or week 13 bye. They were in the last week. At least this year, it is Arizona and Washington, and there's not a ton of studs. But with my luck, I'm going to need Terry McLaurin to give me 13, and he's not going to be able to play because he's not going to be on bye. It's going to be something like that.
soon.
All right. Yeah, so those are the cheats of the week. I'm going to wing this one because I don't have it up. Everyone, please go follow or please go play with our sponsor, Underdog Fantasy. During the off season, they do best ball leagues, they do pick'ems, week long leagues during the season. $100 match if you use the promo code GF2. That's GF2 in capital letters. Put in 100, they'll match up to 100. Whatever your deposit is, go ahead. And play Underdog. If you don't already have an account, they are a sponsor of ours, and it'd be greatly appreciated. Get that out of the way because I don't have the ad, obviously, right now. Before we get into the waiver wire, I want to go to Rigged comment. By the way, if Chicago is tanking after this coming Thursday's loss, yeah, they will have the number 1 and number 2 picks in the upcoming draft. What a sweet deal. There's something telling me that they're not going to have the number 1 and number 2. I mean, even if it's them or not. But I do understand what you're saying. Jordan, this comment is for you. By the way, if Aaron Jones' hammy will continue to hamper him against Vegas, I have another upset alert against Monday night's raucous crowd in Vegas, especially if Jimmy G plays.
So I'm not mad at that. I mean, that's understandable. If Devontae Adams plays and Jair Alexander doesn't, then I can see Adams having a huge revenge game against us. So that's not out of the realm of possibilities. I expect Jones to be okay. I mean, he's had the kind of mini bye from Thursday to Monday night. So even more. So I anticipate he'll be all right, but I wouldn't count out Adams and Jacoby Myers playing well if Jimmy G plays.
All right, so we're running on good time, even though I'm trying to make it a little bit shorter show just because of my situation and Jordan's situation. It's getting pretty dark here in California, and literally, I am the ghost of Christmas past. But I just got done with my rant of the week. But I don't think I'm done with my rant of the week, guys. Because Rig just pulled on a string that I was not going to bring up. Okay? So I'm bringing it up because Rig brought it up. I'm doing what the viewers want. Rig says, I actually like the 2 games on Monday night. It gives viewers options to flip between which game is more exciting for them. More Monday night games, please. Rig, you're wrong.
Yeah, I don't like.
And I'm going to tell you why you're wrong. You are not wrong about the doubleheader on Monday night. You are 1,000% wrong, in my opinion, on having them at the same goddamn time.
Yes.
When they did it before, and it was a 4:30 start West Coast and a 7:30 West Coast clock, they worked great. Yes, they worked for me because I'm on the West Coast, and I get it. East Coasters didn't want to stay up till 1 o'clock because they had the second game start at 10. Both of the guys on the show, besides me, are on the East Coast time zone. So I'm going to give them a second in a minute to give me their opinion. What I think, if people are going to complain about it on the East Coast and the NFL wants the viewership, and I get it, and the majority of the viewership is, if percentage-wise in the nation, is East Coast, I get that. If you don't want it to, don't only do it by 45 minutes. Like, don't do a 4:15 and a 5:15.
Right.
Wait till like the fourth quarter. Like, wait till you think the fourth quarter is going to start, or mid third quarter, and then do it. So there's at least a little. There's overlap, but not as much. Jordan, am I crazy? Because I know you're from down in New Orleans or Louisiana area, so I know you have to deal with this.
Yeah, so I don't like it when you gotta kind of have to choose. It was better the earlier it was. Now I know for a lot of people who getting off of work or whatever, they may miss the start of it, and so I know they were trying to cater to that those issues. But for the last few years, they had kind of did that. They had a West Coast game that started later, and they had an East Coast game that started earlier. That worked out perfectly. Last week when they had the game at 6 and the game at 7, that was just kind of difficult. Um, overlap is cool, but for Monday night, those things are supposed to be isolated. I thought that was like the specialty of playing on Monday night, having all the eyes on you. If you're battling with another game, then the eyes are not on you. It's not that special. People, it's just not watering down, but just conflating the product. And they wanted to kind of take control and have those 2 teams be showcased, but that's not happening.
No, Rigged. I meant, so your comment about 2 o'clock right here. I meant they started at 4 o'clock my time. 7 when they did the spread out, it was 7 o'clock East Coast and 10 o'clock East Coast, and then that's what they were trying to avoid.
Yeah.
I mean, even for Monday night games that are normally played rigged, I'm not home in time. I don't get off till I was working for an hour of the first game. So even West Coast, be glad we're not in Hawaii. Monday night football on a normal night starts at 2 p.m. Sunday morning football starts at 7 a.m. for Hawaii.
Man.
Amy?
Yeah, I don't like the 2 games at once because I got it set up where my computer's got the 1 game, TV has another game, and I'm just straining my eyes trying to watch both games at once, and it's annoying. Plus, what if you're questionable going into those games? Like, that's just double the people that you have to decide if you want to play someone on Sunday over that person on Monday. So I'm not a big fan of the two games on Monday nights at all.
Agreed. So it is time for the waiver wire edition part of the show. Jordan, take it away. And then when that one certain person is brought up, Jamie, I will let you go.
Okay.
So the first person, so I'll mention the person I think you talked about last, but the first person I'm talking about is, and this is more of a speculative ad depending on an injury in the backfield, but Jaleel McLaughlin with the Broncos. Obviously, he showed some flashes when Javonte went out on Sunday. Javante's injury isn't expected to be serious, but he may miss a game or two, and it doesn't hurt picking up McLaughlin. He was more explosive than P. Ryan. They started to use. He scored the touchdown. Looks like Sean Payton really likes him. When Sean Payton was asked about Javante's injury, he just started talking about how good McLaughlin was. So they like him. If Javante has to miss time, even if it's like a week or two, McLaughlin could be picked up for people who may need somebody this week with the 4 teams on a bye as we discussed. And then the other guy, Jameson Williams. It's obviously an easy person to talk about. We kind of mentioned him a little bit earlier. The guy is a talent. We haven't really seen him play because he was hurt coming off an ACL, and then he gambled. He took lessons from Calvin Ridley and was gambling, so he was suspended. But now he's supposed to be back in one of the best offenses in the league. They invested a lot in him. They stuck by him, so pick him up and see what happens.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jamie.
With McLaughlin, I mean, if you're absolute desperate, I could say go ahead and do it, but I wouldn't waste a lot of money on him.
No, not a lot at all.
Because you got to remember, he is undrafted. He's undersized. He ended up getting 100 scrimmage yards on 10 touches. I mean, that was obviously good for that game, but you got to look who they played. Running backs like that are like the fast sub, like 4-4 guys. I want those guys that are on top 10 offenses, like an Achan. Like McLaughlin, I'm not going to trust him. I don't think he's going to put up that many points again. But like I said, if you're desperate, throw him in. Just don't spend more than 5% of your budget on him.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. With Jameson, I'll bring up Jameson. Unfortunately, you guys already know this. Unfortunately, he probably isn't available in the leagues I play in.
Yes.
But if he is available, he is a must-add. He's a must-add a week early. I'm not starting him yet, but you got to get him. He's one of those guys that you can get now. He is going to be targeted eventually. He will be boomer bust. There are going to be weeks that you're disappointed if you play him. There's going to be weeks that you're going to be disappointed that you didn't play him because he's going to be one of those guys that could give you 4 but could give you 17. But Jamie, there is a tight end who has been getting targets more than I even thought he would.
Yeah. So with the tight end landscape going on right now, I mean, there's really not much out there. If you drafted guys like Darren Waller, we talked about earlier, Freiermuth, who's injured, Pitts hasn't been doing anything, Goddard, just guys that have been showing up on your teams. There's a tight end that's been getting at least like 7 catches consistently out of like the 3 out of the 4 games he played, and he's 50% owned on Sleeper. He's currently the tight end 8. And it's the Dallas Cowboys, Jake Ferguson. I know you don't want to trust Dak, but Dak seems to trust Jake Ferguson, and he's one of the top targets on the team right now. So he's gotten 10 or more fantasy points those 3 out of the 4 weeks, and I'm good rolling him out there if you need the stream of tight end. I ended up winning in my zombie league because I played Jake Ferguson last week. And I just picked him right off the waiver wire and plugged him in, played him, and I won.
Jordan, what do you think about Ferguson?
Yeah, I'm in on that call, man. I was like, there was buzz about him before the season, and I was shying away from him because I thought Brandon Cooks would play more of a role, and Michael Gallup would take away, and obviously CD and Pollard. But Dak is going to him. It's like it wasn't just a Dalton Schultz thing. It's a tight end thing for Dak. So he relies on those guys, and Ferguson has been getting consistent targets. And I mean, if Dak believes in him, I mean, on a team that doesn't, they don't want him to throw a lot. But when he does, he's looking for CD and Jake Ferguson. So, as long as that continues, it's definitely worth the pickup, especially with the way tight ends is looking. I mean, Jamie mentioned Kyle Pitts, but Jonnu Smith has been the Falcons' best tight end so far. So, yeah. Oh, Mike froze.
Oh,
I finally caught up with them.
we lost our fearless leader. There he is.
Oh,
All right. What did I freeze?
yeah.
Yeah, you froze first.
That's weird. The whole entire time with no light, no freaking. I've been fine. I thought I was gonna have problems all night. All right, let's get this party going so we can get off. Mine is a wide receiver. He's number 24 in PPR. He's rostered in 6% of leagues. Yes, he had a horrible week one. Wide receiver 77 in week one. He had 7 targets, 7 catches, 2 touchdowns, partly because his team was just needing to score. But I don't think any of us saw the Arizona Cardinals playing, not saying they're playing great, but they're not playing dog doo-doo. Right, boys? They're not playing horrible ball. They went up against the Niners and lost. They beat the Cowboys. They beat the brakes out of the Cowboys. They have Hollywood Brown, but that's not who I'm talking about at wide receiver. The guy you need to go pick up is Michael Wilson out of Stanford, the rookie. It seems to me that he's getting more targets now that the year is going on. He had 7 targets for 7 catches. Dobbs likes him. Dobbs talked about him. I saw it in something that Dobbs said he's doing good at practice and everything. Dobbs is doing better than I thought. Michael Wilson's snap share went down after week 1 to week 2. There was rumors that something happened. He got in the doghouse. But after that, his snap percentage has gone up every week. I looked at it before the show. I don't have the numbers in front of me, unfortunately, because they're my laptop. I was expecting one of the wide receivers opposite of him for their snap percentages to go down. And that is not the case. The person whose snap percentage has gone down is actually somebody that me and you liked before this season, Jamie. And that's Trey McBride. So I think Michael Wilson is actually they're not going 2 tight end sets like we thought they would, or at the beginning of the year. They're going receiver sets, or there's even times where Rondell's off the field and Michael Wilson. So go pick up Michael Wilson. Question to you two, I actually have this issue right now. How much of your did you spend on him?
How much fab?
Between I'd say between about 5-10%.
Yep, that's what I was thinking about 10 at max.
Yeah, 7, 8, 9, if you could afford it. Well, I know going into week 4, he only had a 12% target share, but that obviously went up last week. We know the talent's there. He was a late 3rd round draft pick in the NFL draft. The only reason we were kind of overlooking him was because of the offense he was being drafted on. But no, I like him. I think the talent could be there. Just hold your horses on him, though, because the next 2 weeks he does have tough matchups. But then week 7, he plays the Seahawks. So fire him up, man. Just get him on your roster now. Pay attention to him the next 2 weeks. And definitely I would consider putting him in my lineup, especially with bye weeks. Like bye weeks are going to be there. And if you're in a dynasty league, man, go buy him cheap because there was talks he could have been a late second round pick in dynasty. I was getting him in like the fourth rounds of my team.
I saw him going in the thirds and fourths.
Yeah, like late third, early fourth. Sometimes I even picked him up on a couple teams that he wasn't even drafted, and I just put like a bunch of fab on him, ended up getting him, throwing on my taxi squad. So I have a lot of Michael Wilson. I think he could be like a Josh Palmer type player.
Yeah. So super quick, so we can get out of here. My phone's about to die on top of everything. Jordan, me and you already talked about this today in a different group chat. So I'm going to bring it up very quickly. Jamie, if you want to bring something up, you can, but just keep it super short, okay? Just for time purposes. If this is the beginning of the show, I would let you go on more because I know you'll want to. Mike, I apologize for picking on your players, but what happened to your boy Calvin Ridley and Dotson? Kirk is outperforming Ridley, and Dotson is an asterisk compared to F1. We're not gonna talk about F1 and McLaurin in this, or McLaurin and Dotson, just because of time purposes. But that's why Jordan giggled when I brought it up because Jordan knows where I'm going with this.
Mm-hmm.
Ridley got a touchdown. Don't act like he's out of the hunt, okay? Don't act like he's gone. Ridley got a touchdown, okay? Yes, Kirk is getting the targets. I'm not going to lie. The proof is in the pudding. Kirk is getting the targets. Jordan, what is my concern? My concern is one thing and one thing only, Jamie, and that is once Zay Jones comes back, Kirk is going to go back to his old role. Ridley is coming back to is showing that he still has something, and I think it's going to go back to Ridley, Zay, Kirk. That's my concern.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Zay was getting the targets the first couple weeks. Right now, I think Kirk is top 15 in targets, but that is going to come down to normal once Zay comes back.
Yep.
So
what do you think, Jordan?
I'll say this. This is not good, but Ridley did drop a couple touchdown passes. And if he would have caught those, we would have a very different outlook on this conversation if he would have caught those two passes. So that's
I had to watch the entire game in Toy Story form. So I couldn't really tell how bad the drops were.
Oh, I'm talking about earlier in the season, like he dropped.
Yeah. But even if he did it this game, I wouldn't have known because I was watching toys.
He only had 2 targets in this game, so he caught both of those. So
I was watching toys. All right, so let's swing it around the horn real quick, like we always do, and then I'll send it out. Jamie.
Find me at Jamie Prog on Twitter. Then right here Tuesday nights, Going for Two, and then Sunday morning start sit show at Going for Two.
Yeah, every Wednesday, article with goingfor2.com. Cut them or keep them moving forward for the rest of the season. And catch me here on Tuesday nights on the cheat sheet.
All right, you guys know where to find me. I'm the little blue. The X, whatever you want to call it, Drop the Mic FF. You can also find me on Instagram with the same handle. And the reason I'm bringing that up is I have been trying out doing some memes and some video little meme things, and they've actually worked. I've sent some to Jamie, and I've sent them in the group chat. Yeah, the last one I put up was Jamar Chase. Was a Jamar Chase one. It was a Family Guy spoof. So go check that out. You can also check me out here every Tuesday night. And my quarterback article for Dynasty Nerds. But other than that, for Jamie, for Jordan, I'm Mike. Have a nice evening and peace out.